Thank you, Sebi, and good afternoon to all the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome. I'm delighted to deliver this welcome address at the webinar on Explaining Factoring Act and Introduction to TREDS for NBFCs and MSMEs, organized by the Indian Merchants Chambers NBFC Committee, jointly with Finance Industry Development Council FIDC and Receivables Exchange of India Limited RSIL. A very warm welcome to Mr. Roshan Singh, Head Financial Institutions Receivable Exchange of India Limited, for sparing his valuable time and being with us today. With the amendment to the Factoring Regulation Amendment Bill 2020, RBI registered NBFCs will be eligible to undertake factoring business and participate as financials on TRDS platform once the TRDS guidelines are suitably amended by Reserve Bank of India. TRDS is an electronic platform for facilitating the financing / discounting of trade receivables of micro, small and medium enterprises through multiple financiers. These receivables can be due from corporate and other buyers, including government departments and public sector undertakings. The main objective of the TREDS platform is to address the critical needs of MSMEs, that is the twin issues of promptly encashing receivables and eliminating credit risk. TREDS platform of RSIL is expected to be a catalyst in the growth of MSMEs by bringing in transparency in the business ecosystem. TREDS platform enables discounting of invoices, bills of exchange of MSME sellers against large corporates, including government departments and public sector undertakings, through an auction mechanism to ensure prompt realization of trade receivables at competitive market rates. TREDS is the first attempt in India to introduce factoring without recourse to the seller and will help MSME sellers not only in quick realization of receivables, but also efficient price discovery. I'm confident that today's webinar will be beneficial to all participants. In conclusion, I would like to thank Mr. Ramesh Iyer, Chairman of the Committee and Vice Chairman and Managing Director, President, Financial Services Sector, and member of the Group of Executive Board, Mahindra & Mahindra Financial Services Limited. Mr. Mahesh Thakkar, Co-Chairman of the Committee and Director General, Finance Industry Development Council. Mr. K.V. Srinivasan, Co-Chairman of the Committee and Director and CEO of Profectus Capital Private Limited and Receivables Exchange of India, for organizing this insightful seminar. Before I end, a few words about IMC for those who are new to IMC. Established in 1907 and having its headquarters in the heart of the city of Mumbai, the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry is an apex chamber of trade and industry in the Western region, with its membership base of over 5,000 members and over 150 trade associations affiliated to it. Together, it represents and advocates interests of over 400,000 business and industry establishments across the country from diverse sectors of the industry. The theme for the year is Engaging Maharashtra, Building India. I once again welcome everyone to this insightful webinar. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kharakiwala. I now request Mr. K.V. Srinivasan, Co-Chairman, NBFC Committee, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Director and CEO, Profectus Capital Private Limited, to present the introductory address. Over to you, Mr. Srinivasan.
Thank you, ma'am, and a very warm evening to everybody. It's one of its first kinds in terms of the mechanism, that where actually, one of the biggest issues that most of the MSMEs face in this country is that they don't get their payments on time, and therefore their cash flow cycles get elongated beyond the usual, so that they run into cash flow problems and mismatches throughout their journey. And TREDS is one wonderful platform which seeks to address this particular issue, whereby the MSMEs are in a position to liquidate their receivables very quickly for a small price. And therefore, they can actually stop worrying about collection of their receivables, but concentrate more upon making their businesses a lot more efficient, better. The real beauty of this platform is twofold. One is that it organizes the otherwise unorganized receivables market very well. Number two is that the mechanism basically enjoins the larger company to whom the MSMEs supply goods to exercise greater discipline on their payables. Any default which happens on the TReDS platform is actually treated as a credit default by the larger entity. So therefore, from a lender's perspective, you are actually able to take a MSME exposure with the risk of a large company exposure. I think that is the huge thing, because essentially that means that although you're taking an MSME exposure, the risk element is actually like taking a AAA corporate or AA corporate exposure.
Hello. I think we have lost connectivity, with Mr. Srinivasan. I think he is, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
he's back. He's back. Yeah. So please unmute yourself.
Yeah, my apologies for the poor connectivity. So essentially, what I'm saying is that as a lender, you are able to do an MSME exposure at the risk of taking a AA or a AAA corporate exposure. That means you're able to offer money to the MSME at a far cheaper rate than what otherwise you would be able to offer. So it benefits everybody. The MSMEs are obviously benefited because they get credit at a cheaper rate and are able to liquidate their receivables easier. It brings in a greater amount of discipline into the system. And for the lender, it is an MSME exposure coming in at a much higher category of risk. So this is a winner from every angle that you really look at it. And TReDS is also a platform whereby a greater level of organization and discipline is brought across in the entire receivables market, which is, and also by greater level of digitization, you are able to bring in a much greater amount of discipline in the entire payments. Also, what happens is that because it's based upon bidding, the borrower, which is in this case the beneficiary, the MSME, is always able to get the best price on offer. So it's a wonderful mechanism. While it has been around in the system for quite a while, it is only now catching fire. And with the entry of NBFCs being permitted after the Factoring Act has been amended, I'm quite sure this is one area which will see a huge amount of action going forward. I'm very thankful to RXIL for having taken this initiative to appraise us about the details of the scheme and how the whole platform will work and all of that. Because understanding this is extremely important, not just for the lenders, but also for the MSMEs. And I do hope that the deliberations of this evening's webinar would be beneficial to everybody. Thank you so much, and I look forward to a very good level of knowledge sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivasan. May I now request Mr. Roshan Singh, Head Financial Institutions Receivables Exchange of India Limited, and Mr. Ketan Gaikwad, MD and CEO Receivables Exchange of India Limited, RXIL, to explain factoring and introduction of TReDS for NBFCs and MSMEs. Over to you, sir. Sir, you're mute. Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
Sorry. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you and very warm welcome to everyone who is there on this webinar. And I would like to thank FIDC and IMC for giving us an opportunity to present on the TReDS and explaining the recent amendment to the Factoring Act and how the TReDS will have an impact, or how the recent amendment to the Factoring Act will have an impact on the overall ecosystem of the TReDS. I'm very impressed with the way Mr. Srinivasan has explained the benefit and the way the TReDS is helping and highlighting the pain area because of which threats has evolved, and some of the benefit which it gives to the participants, which gives a win-win solution to all the participants, not only to the financier but also to the buyer as well as to the seller. And a seller become a focus area here because the TREADS platform is meant for the MSME sellers. Okay, with that background, I would like to first present my screen.
Sir, just a minute, I'll just allow you to
enable that.
Okay, sir.
Sure, thank you.
Yes, sir, we are able to view it.
Yeah, so today's agenda is to understand about the factoring amendment and touch upon the TREADS as such, how the TREADS function, which is benefited both for the NBFCs as well as to the MSMEs as a large. Initially, to touch upon, we will first spend a few minutes on understanding the recent amendment to the factoring regulation bill. The first thing which have made the changes which has been made in the Factoring Regulation Act is introduction of the TREADS into the definition of the Factoring Regulation Bill, and the TREADS has been explained in the way it has been presented on the platform on the screen. The second important thing is, which is a game changer with respect to the TREADS as well as outside the TREADS also, because it will now allow NBFCs to be a factors as per the Factoring Regulation Bill. Prior to this, only banks and NBFCs with the factoring license were only allowed as a factors, and hence the financial community was restricted to this. And accordingly, on the TREADS platform also, we were able to onboard banks and NBFCs only having a factoring license. So we have couple of NBFC factors on the platform who operate and who are operating since the launch of the TREADS, and with the expansion of the financial base and to include the NBFCs also, it will increase the financiers base as well as increase the liquidity into the TREADS platform, which will eventually help the MSMEs. The third and the important part, which was a pain area since we started this TREADS and which was highlighted by many financiers who are doing a very good volume on the platform, is that the CERSAI registration is taking a lot of time for them because it is at a transaction level and at a invoice level where the CERSAI registration needs to be done. While there have been certain progress and ease out in the process of doing a CERSAI registration from a manual inputting of the data to the upload functionality being recently launched by CERSAI, what this factoring regulation bill will enable is that it will allow automatic filing of the charge with CERSAI directly through the TREADS platform. So this will be enabled very soon. We are waiting for RBI guidelines on this, post which we will work with CERSAI and do a API integration through which the CERSAI registration required for transaction on the TREADS platform will happen very seamlessly. And lastly, RBI will be empowered to make a regulation related to this. More importantly, the manner of granting a registration certificate to a factor, which include the NBFCs here. Okay, and the manner of filing of transaction detail with the central registry, which is a CERSAI. Correct. So what we are expecting here next is that now the bill has been passed and RBI have been given powers to make this regulation with respect to the registration of these factors as well as the CERSAI and other stuff. We are expecting RBI guidelines to amend the TREADS guidelines per se. Okay, wherein first they will allow NBFCs to be onboarded as a participant, as a financier on the platform, and second, they will come out with the guidelines of how the automatic filing of the charges with the CERSAI will happen. Okay, so moving next, and more discussing about the evolution of the TREADS and touching upon the RXL also. TREADS per se as a trade receivable e-discounting system, it started way back in 2008 when our former governor Raghuram Rajanji visited Mexico, and there he was discussing about the challenges which the MSME faced because of the delayed payment, and he found out an interesting concept called as a NAFIN model here. And there, while discussing with the government of the Mexico, he found out saying that the NAFIN model is electronic platform which enables an MSME to upload the invoices on the platform and get the invoices discounted. So with that logic and with that background, RBI has issued a guidelines on the TREDS in December 2014. And SIDBI and NSE has applied for the license. We got an in-principle approval in December 2015. And in January 2017, RXL as an entity, we successfully executed a first transaction. RXL is the first TREDS platform in India licensed by RBI. The other two TREDS license holders are M1 Exchange, which is promoted by, or M1 Exchange, which is owned by Mind Solution, and the third entity is InvoiceSmart, backed up by Axis Bank. So these are the three operational TREDS platform in India as of now. Moving next, just simply to touch upon RXL. As I mentioned, RXL is the first TREDS entity licensed in RBI. We are promoted by SIDBI, NSE, and the other shareholders in our company is SBI Group, ICICI Group, and Yes Bank. Obviously, as the intention of the TREDS is also to empower the small business to realize that growth potential and to support with the liquidity and get the receivable encashed, RXL is also have the same vision of supporting the small businesses, particularly to the micro and small entity, and enable the quick realization of the invoices, which get delayed even though the MSME Act is in place. Still, payment within 45 days is a challenge, and hence it impacts the MSME receivable as well as the liquidity position. Moving quickly here about what is TREDS and how TREDS connect the participant on the platform. TREDS is a platform or the online marketplace which connect on one side the buyer and sellers on the platform, and that linkage happens through the buyer and seller link mapping, which I will explain to you in slides just coming next to this. On the TREDS platform, the beauty of the TREDS is that there can be a many-to-many relationship on the platform where one buyer can be linked to multiple sellers, and in the similar fashion, one seller can be linked to a multiple buyer. So there is no one-to-one relationship. There can be a many-to-many relationship, which basically enable the sellers who are supplying to various buyers on the platform. They can be linked on the buyers here, where there can be a multiple many-to-many mapping here on the platform on the one side. On the other side, we have a financial base. Now this financial base include, as of now, the banks and NBFC factors. Once RBI guidelines is in place, NBFCs will also be allowed as a financials on the platform. Okay, we act as an online marketplace, as I mentioned, and we do ensure that the registration or the onboarding of the participants happen on the same platform through which the linkages happen between each of them. Moving next quickly to explain who are these participants and what are the characteristics of the participant. First, to touch upon the sellers. These sellers on the TREDS platform, as we speak now, these are MSME sellers, and TREDS ensure that the sellers which are getting onboarded on the platform are the MSMEs as per the recent definition of the MSME. While there have been certain relaxation for Udyam registration till December of this calendar this year, we onboard the sellers taking Udyam registration wherever the Udyam registration number is there. Otherwise, we take a Udyog registration number. The seller onboarding is completely digital, where it happens on a digital platform of RXL on our platform, where the sellers can initiate or start the journey on the digital platform and can complete the entire onboarding journey through the same platform digitally, including execution of the agreements and all other necessary document which is required for the onboarding. Coming to the second participants, where the seller supplies the goods to the buyer. The buyer includes the public sector enterprise, the PSUs, which are central PSUs or the state PSUs. The second entity within the buyer can be the government bodies, which include state government or the central government and the bodies attached to that. And the third entity within the buyer, participant include corporates, the large corporates, mid corporate. It also includes the MSMEs on the buyer side. So it need not mean that it has to be a large corporate. We have a very good use case where the MSME seller is supplying to the another MSME, typically a micro or a small MSME supplying into the medium category of the MSME buyers, are also there on the platform. So it does not restrict as it's saying that the buyer should be a large corporate. Provided there is a sufficient liquidity on the platform, we allow the discounting of this invoices raised on this MSME sellers on another MSME buyers on the platform also. And we have very good use cases of such instances. And we look forward for such more instances, because eventually, if this MSME buyers is able to get onboarded, get a liquidity to discount his MSME sellers, he is able to procure more from the MSME sellers and supply it to the large corporate. So it helps the entire ecosystem in that manner. So that is on the buyer side. The buyer onboarding happens more on the physical side, where the representative from the RXL will go meet them, explain them a product, and then onboarding happens on the physical manner mode. With the help of the VSIP, the video KYC and the CKYC enablement, what we are able to do with the buyer and seller is that we are able to onboard them on a much smoother manner, because the onboarding of the buyer and seller can happen through the video KYC or the CKYC route, as being allowed by RBI recently for the regulated entity. So that's the first thing which has been very a good moment for the TReDS platform as such. Coming to the financial base, obviously, as I mentioned, it includes banks and NBFC factors, and very soon NBFCs as a whole will be allowed to participate as a financier on the platform, which will boost the entire ecosystem, because the backbone of the TReDS platform also has a financial base, because end of the day, the liquidity should be there on the platform to ensure that the MSME's receivables get discounted on the platform. And hence NBFCs will act as a very good role in building and improving or increasing the traction on the TReDS platform. Very important to mention here is that the KYC of the participant, which is done by the TReDS platform, is as per the KYC master direction of the RBI, which means that whenever we do any KYC, any fresh KYC which is being done, we push it to the CKYC registry. Obviously, the other regulated entities can rely on that KYC. Plus, what we have experienced over the last 3 years since our launch, or 3.5 or 2 years, is that the financials who are there on the platform, they rely on the KYC being performed by us, because we are TReDS platform are a regulated entities under the Payment and Settlement Service Act, and hence we comply with the KYC master direction, which means that the KYC which we do is in synchronized with the KYC being done by the banks or the NBFCs, and hence this KYC which we collect from the buyer and sellers are housed on the platform itself, where you can download it and consume it for your own purpose, for internal purpose itself. Moving next, once the onboarding of the buyer and seller is done and the financials onboarding done, before they actually start putting up an invoice on the platform, there is a necessity of a buyer and seller linkage, which means that the mapping of the buyer and seller have to be there on the platform. For example, if any buyer is has onboarded on the platform, they typically refer their sellers to us. What we do, we reach out to them, onboard them on our platform, and then there is a buyer seller mapping being done on the platform, where the buyer initiate this process, and a seller needs to come on the platform and accept that particular mapping. What does this buyer seller mapping means is that they agree on the terms and condition basis which the transaction will happen on the platform, which means that they will agree what is the default credit period, which they are agreeing on the platform. In case if the buyer is saying that I need over and above the normal credit period, so for example, the default credit period is 45 days, and buyer says that I require another 45 days, which is allowed on the TReDS platform, then they can agree saying that for the 45 days, a seller will bear the cost, while for the additional 45 days, a buyer will bear the cost. So this is a unique concept which is being built up in RXL platform, where the interest cost or the discount cost can be split between the buyer and seller on the platform, which is agreed between them, obviously. Fine. They also agree about the transaction charges, which is being charged by the platform for usage of the platform, obviously. So that also can be split between the buyer and seller, or it can be with the seller or buyer whosoever bears the discount cost. We have a concept of a cap rate, where for the benefit of the financiers to understand at what price they have to quote, or what is the acceptable level of the bidding rate, buyer and seller can define a cap rate, which is visible to the financier at the time of bidding, and accordingly, when they are doing a bidding on the platform, they can see the cap rate and accordingly price it. The moment the buyer seller mapping is done, now we are ready to do a transaction on the platform. Obviously, the platform is at the center where we provide a e-discounting platform for the buyer seller financier. Typically, what happens is that before they actually do a transaction on the platform, this invoices is being sent to the buyer. There is a acceptance, either a digital acceptance or a physical acceptance done before they upload this invoice on the platform. Once the acceptance is done, what they typically do, a seller or the buyer, either of the party can upload the invoice on the platform. It goes for the counterparty approval, where in case if the seller upload the invoice, it goes to the buyer for the approval. Buyer will log in through their authorized official on the platform and accept that particular invoice. Acceptance of the invoice on the platform by the buyer tantamount to two things. And what Mr. Srinivasan has correctly mentioned is that there is no recourse at all on the MSME vendors on the platform. And hence a buyer agrees to make a payment on the due date, which has been agreed between them on the platform. They also agree, a buyer is also agrees, or the seller also agrees, saying that this invoice which has been accepted and put up on the platform has not been financed outside the TREDS platform. This is the invoice which is legitimate invoice. There is no set off as such, which is in line with the TREDS guidelines also. The TREDS guidelines clearly says that this party, the MSME vendor, will not have any recourse. There is the payment obligation will always be on the buyer, and hence the performance risk, because buyer needs to confirm saying that this invoice is good for the payment, including the amount and the quality and quantity. So that's why the counterparty approval by the buyer is mandatory. And the moment a buyer approves that invoice, it converts into the factoring unit. A factoring unit is a legal terminology, or the tradable instrument which is put up on the platform. Invoice can be attached to the factoring unit. So factoring unit is there on the bidding queue. The moment it is accepted and available, all the registered financiers who are on the platform, they can see the FUs on the platform, and they will start doing a bidding on the platform. The beauty of this product, as correctly highlighted by Srinivasan sir also, is that it is a transparent platform where the bidding will happen. Once any financiers does the bidding on the platform, the other financier sees at what rate it is being traded on the platform, while they do not see the name of the financiers, obviously. So the lowest rate being quoted on the transaction is available on the platform, which enables the other financier to bid aggressively and counterbid it on the same factoring unit or the transaction. Further, it enables the same financiers to rebid on the factoring unit. So it does not mean that only one-time bidding is allowed. A financier can bid and rebid a number of times before it is accepted by the counterbid party. What happens typically is that the moment the bidding is done by the financier, the interest-bearing party, for example, in this case, if it is an MSME who is bearing a cost, he will receive an email notification saying that the bid has been placed, and he will come on the platform and accept that particular bid. In case if it is matching the rate acceptable level, in case a buyer is accepting a bid, then buyer has a right to accept the bid on the platform. So bid acceptance is done on the platform by the interest-bearing party. The moment bid is accepted, there is an obligation being generated first on the financiers to disburse the fund on the next working day. Our platform is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we operate for 12 hours in a day. Any bid which is accepted during the day goes for the settlement on the next working day, or goes for the disbursement on the next working day. What we do, or how the settlement happens on the platform, is that when we onboard the financiers on the platform, we take an NACH mandate from them. So take an example where the NBFCs get onboarded on the platform. They will give an NACH mandate from one particular account from which they have been operating. We will register this NACH mandate with NPCI. Once the registration is complete, they can transact on the platform. This NACH mandate is also presented to NPCI. So take an example where today the bid has been accepted. It will go for the settlement on the next working day. We will pull the funds from that particular designated account of the financier and create the funds to the MSME vendor. On the due date, we send out a file to NPCI through a sponsor bank. Similarly, how the financier give a NACH mandate and we register it with NPCI. Buyer also provide a NACH mandate to us. We register it to NPCI. We send out this communication to the buyer bank also, saying that this buyer has been onboarded and this account is being designated for the settlement of the funds. On the due date, we pull the funds from the buyer account and create to the financier account. Now, the typical question which normally come from the financial is that what happened in case of a default by the buyer on the due date? In case of a default on the due date through NACH mandate, we coordinate with the buyer and check with the buyer whether they are able to transfer the fund on the same day. This happens outside the platform because any default on the platform or default handling on the platform will be outside the TREDS platform, wherein the financiers can take a legal recourse against the buyer. However, we coordinate for to understand whether they will be making a payment on the same day. If they are agreeing to make a payment on the same day, they transfer the funds via RTGS or NEFT. In case if there is a delay, they will transfer the funds with the penal interest along with the penal interest to the financiers. Only when the financiers confirm saying that they have received the payment of the funds, then only this transaction is marked as a settle on the platform. Till that time, it appears as the overdue. Now, what will happen if the OD continues? So if the OD continues for the 5 days, we as a platform do not allow that buyer to transact further on the platform, and we disseminate this information to all the registered financier on the platform, saying that this buyer has defaulted and the default has exceeded 5 working days or 5 days DPD. We also report it to the necessary regulatory body, including RBI and DFS, about this default. The NBFCs or the financiers who are there, they have a legal recourse on the buyer, and hence they can first go under Section 25 of the Payment and Settlement Service Act, which gives a power for dishonor of the e-check, which include NACH mandate. The second protection available to the financier is under the Factoring Act, because there is an assignment which has happened in favor of the financier, and hence under that protection they can go under IBC or NCLT as an operational creditor. So these are the two legal protection available to the financier on the TREDS platform when they are going legal against the buyer. Again, to repeat, the recourse will always be on a buyer, not on the seller. Once the seller is paid, he is out of the picture, and the financier can go legal only against the buyer after the due date, in case it is not paid on the due date. One more point to touch upon, basically to highlight how the buyer, seller, and financial are interconnected to on the platform. What we do on the platform is that we have a master agreement which we execute with the individual participant. This agreement is not a tri-party agreement or an agreement between the participant on the platform. RXIL will have an agreement executed with the buyer, with individual buyer. It will have an agreement executed with the vendor and with the financier also. Now, this agreement will have a certain covenants and warranties against the other participants. One of the important obligations of the buyer is to make a payment on the due date, and this is very clearly mentioned in the agreement which they execute on the platform. And this is in line with the RBI TREDS guidelines, which says that the master agreement between the buyer and the platform should clearly say that the buyer will make a payment on the due date. There is no set off, or there is no set off with respect to the funds which has been discounted on the platform, and this is very clearly documented in the agreement. The second, obviously, agreement with the financier and the obligation which they carry on the platform is to honor the payment once they have bid and the bid is being accepted by the counterparty. The sellers obviously does not have any recourse, but while executing an agreement, they give the power to a platform to issue a notice of assignment, which is required under the Factoring Act, and under that the assignment or the receivables are assigned to the financier. The second point which they also confirm is that the invoices which they discount on the platform are free from any charge, and they will not discount those invoices outside the TREDS platform. Also, just to touch upon, there are 3 TREDS platforms, as I mentioned. So to ensure that the same invoice does not get discounted on the other 2 platforms, or the same invoice does not get discounted on the TREDS platform, we have a blockchain network in place which ensure that the invoices, if it is discounted on one platform, do not get discounted on the other 2 platforms. And it works on a very real-time basis. This is being tried and tested for last couple of years. So that brings more confidence to the financier, because here a financier always saying that if the invoices are there, there is a likely possibility of getting discounted on the other 2 platforms. But we ensure that through the blockchain network, this is also eliminated on the platform. There are 2 typical processes, and this is more relevant from the buyer and seller point of view. While For the financiers, it is the same because end of the day, the financier received the funds net of interest to his account, or the debit to his account happened in net of interest, and he received the principal amount on the due date. A factoring process flow is typically where the interest is borne by the seller. The seller upload the invoices here in step 1. It goes to the buyer for the acceptance, as we have seen in the last presentation, last slide. The financier bids on the invoices. A seller has a right here to accept the bid. So a factoring is a flow where interest is borne by the seller, and hence a seller has a right to accept the bid. While the other process remains the same, financier disburses the funds to the seller. He received the fund within 24 hours. And this has been made possible with the recent change in the NPCI window, where earlier the settlement used to happen in the morning time, which they have shifted to the afternoon, which enable the TREDS platform to do the entire settlement on T+1 instead of T+2 on the earlier mechanism. The buyer on the due date will remit the funds to the financier, and then the entire settlement, as I mentioned, happens through the NPCI NACH mechanism. And this NACH mandate is given by all the buyers who are registered on the platform, including the public sector enterprise, be it a central or a state PSU, or the government bodies. We have a couple of government bodies who are transacting on the platform, and they have also given an NACH mandate from one of the banks through which they operate. The second process within the TREDS is a reverse factoring. This is a process where the interest is borne by the buyer, and hence a buyer controls the entire program from their side. They upload the accepted invoice on the platform. It goes to the bidding queue, and as the buyer bears the cost, buyer has a right to accept the bid. The financier will disburse the fund to the seller, and on the due date, we will pull the funds from the buyer account and create to the financial account. Fine. Touching on the benefit, as we see the financials here, the first benefit which is there for the financier is a PSL. Obviously, the banks here have a target for the PSL. For the non-bank like the NBFC factors or NBFCs, they can very well downsell or sell it in a PSLC certificate. TREDS on the TREDS platform, as of now, the secondary market is not enabled, but we see this opportunity in hopefully in this financial or early next financial year, where the secondary market is also enabled, which will allow the NBFCs or which will allow other financiers who are access of the PSL to sell it to the other financiers on the platform, and through which the PSLC or the sell down can happen on the platform itself. The second benefit, obviously, which it carries is a low risk of a default, because the recourse is not on the MSME, the recourse is on the buyer here on the platform, which allows the financier to take a risk only on the buyer, and hence the risk of the default is very less. And this has been demonstrated on the platform since our inception. Across 3 platforms, we have done financing of more than 50,000 crores now, and the default is less than 0.05%, which is quite healthy, and especially in the COVID scenarios where we have seen after the moratorium large number of defaults happening, but on the TREDS platform the default is quite negligible. Invoices, around 22 lakhs invoices have been financed over the last 3.5-4 years across the 3 TREDS platforms, and if you see the number of buyers, there are around 2,000 more buyers across 3 TREDS platform, and the financial base is 40 plus as of now, while the sellers, cumulative sellers across 3 platforms should be around 30,000 plus. So what it means is that it has a very good ecosystems which is proven over the last 3.5-4 years, and NBFC now coming into the picture will increase the liquidity, increase the financial base, and it will boost the entire ecosystem from the way it is now to take it to the next level. Obviously, it allows the banks or the financier to have access to the quality customer, because here not only the buyer access is there, the MSMEs are also the financier can get access to the MSMEs on the platform, and in case if they want to offer some other product to this MSMEs, they can access to this quality customers on the platform. Coming to the MSMEs, who obviously is the center for the TREDS and for which the TREDS platform is, the first and important thing is This is without recourse borrowing. There is no collateral at all which is required on the platform. There is collateral free loan. The moment the MSME is paid, there is no recourse at all, and he does not have to worry about whether the buyer will make a payment on the due date or not. So that's the first thing and most important thing for the sellers. Obviously, the second important benefit which comes out from the TReDS platform because of the transparent bidding mechanism is the lower cost of fund. We have seen the cost of funds at a very aggressive levels on the platform, especially when it comes to the quarter end or the year end, where the cost goes at a very low level, and hence the sellers get a natural benefit because the moment they go outside the TReDS and give this invoice outside the TReDS for over-the-counter discounting, the cost of funds is quite high for them. But here on the TReDS platform, because it is a buyer accepted invoices, the bidding which happen is this is the buyer credential and credibility and the ratings of that particular buyer. The cost of fund is quite low for this MSME. They get access to the multiple financial, and that is a unique thing which is there on the TReDS platform, where MSMEs based on any location in India can access to all these 40 financials on the platform, which obviously he will not be able to access when he is doing through a bilateral chain. Correct. So they are able to access to all the financials and on the platform, and coupled with the lower cost of funds. Lastly, and very importantly, quicker payments, because outside the TReDS platform, what the MSME is trying to do is that either get a discounting or follow up with the buyer for his release of the payment, while on the platform he gets the payment within 24 hours after it is accepted by the buyer and the bidding is done by the financial. Coming to the buyer, because as Mr. Srinivas also highlighted, saying that it is a win-win for all the parties, and it has to be there because one of the things which required on the TReDS, it requires the buyer acceptance or buyer onboarding. So buyer needs to be there on the platform, and he needs to accept that invoice to create obligation to make a payment on the due date, and hence there has to be certain stuff for the buyer also. Apart from the cases which we mentioned about the lower cost of funds and multiple financial, because when a buyer bears the cost, he also gets this natural benefit of accessing to the multiple financial and a lower cost of funds. But over and above that, what helps, how TReDS helps the buyer is that it strengthens the supplier relationship, because through the TReDS platform, they are able to release the payment to the MSMEs on time in compliance with the MSME Act, which says that within 45 days from the goods and service acceptance date, the payment should be done to the MSME, and we ensure that within that particular time, the payment is done if it is uploaded and accepted by the counterparty. The second is obviously enhance the procurement term, because the moment the MSMEs gets benefited through a lower cost of fund and to of early release of the realization of the invoices, the procurement terms get improved and enhanced, because then the buyer can also, the seller can offer a much competitive rate as compared to the earlier scenario where he was not able to liquidate his invoices, and hence he used to add on certain markup value to this. In this scenario, MSME's receivable get enhanced encashed on time, and hence he is able to offer a much better cost. What we do on the platform, and more important for the large corporate buyers, to ensure that they seamlessly do a transaction on the platform, we attempt to do a ERP integration or a SAP integration with them. So whenever there is a SAP integration is in place, it helps the buyer to push more volumes on the platform, and hence which will typically involve a large number of the MSMEs, and hence the MSMEs will get a benefit of this. So we always try to get into a discussion with the buyer to have ERP integration or a SAP integration in place, which ensure that the flow of the business is continuous, as well as the buyer and sellers continuously move the transaction on the platform. Touching upon the new initiatives, and this is quite interesting, where we mentioned saying that NBFCs have now be allowed. Recently, if you have seen, IRDA has allowed credit insurance on the TReDS platform, and there is a specific mention of invoice being, meaning invoice level insurance being can be taken on the platform, e-discounting platform like TReDS. This is a really game changer, and just to highlight and to share with you, RXL is the only entity who have done a sandbox testing on the insurance, and while the IRDA guidelines says that effective 1st November, TReDS TCI or trade insurance can be offered on the TReDS platform also. We are awaiting RBI guidelines on this to allow insurance company as a fourth participant on the platform, and further allow trade insurance on the platform itself. So that will be a big boost, because what will typically happen is that when NBFC comes on the platform, and while I speak to many NBFC, they have one important question for me is that whether there is anything for me, because the rate on the TReDS platform is low. So yes, we have a very good opportunity where we have a buyer base of, at least on our platform, we have buyer base of 700 plus, and there is a good opportunity for the NBFCs also. While NBFCs, when they come on the platform, they might take exposure on the low rated corporates also. They might look for the risk sharing partner, and hence the TCI, the trade credit insurance, will play a very important role, where in case if the TCI offer insurance on those corporates and NBFCs wants a risk cover, they'll be more happy to avail that facility on the TReDS platform. We are in discussion with the GSTN for integration of the TReDS platform with the GSTN database, which will ensure that whenever the invoices are put up on the platform, once the integration is there, we can hit the GSTN portal and get this e-verified, as well as whenever there is an e-invoicing or whenever there is an e-way bill attached to that, that information can also be passed on along with that integration. The next point to touch upon is that as of now, there is MSMEs which are there on the platform. We are also having a discussion with the regulator whether they can allow a non-MSME sellers to the extent possible on the invoice on the platform. The intention here is also that end of the day, if the non-MSME sellers get invoices also get discounted on the platform, it will eventually help the MSMEs who are supplying it to them and help the entire ecosystems, the supply chain ecosystem end to end, where we do not get only to the large corporate but also to the non-MSMEs seller invoices, which will eventually benefit the MSMEs as a large. As I mentioned, we are working with some of the state government to come on board and discount their contractors or suppliers invoices on the platform. We have been successful in few cases, and we are working with many other state government to onboard them on the platform and start doing a transaction here. This is my last slide where we are saying about the media release and all. Thank you, and I'll just take this opportunity where in case the NBFC specifically wants to reach out and to get more understanding on the processes, the products, and any other query, you can reach out to me on this number or email to me, or the team ID is also there. I'll be more happy to have a discussion with you to take it forward, because here what we are trying to do is that first through this session we are trying to pass on the information or to explain the TReDS as an overall concept to the NBFC as well as to the sellers who are there on this webinar. Plus, over and above that, what we are also trying to do is that in case if the specific NBFCs who wants to discuss with us to discuss on the onboarding and the community, we are happy to take that discussion also. Thank you, and open for questions.
Thank you. There are quite a few questions, so I'll just read out these questions in the chat, and you can raise your hands in case you want to ask questions, or put your names in the chat box so that we can come and address your question. Okay, so the first question that comes is, one of our key clients, L&T, is not registered on any of these three platforms. Now, what can MSMEs do to discount or factor invoices for supplier to L&T?
So L&T as an entity is registered on RXL platform, and we are in the process of registering the sellers also of the L&T. What we will do might be the specific seller can reach out to us and we can have a discussion for onboarding of the sellers on the platform. We are also discussing with L&T to start transaction on the platform. They have done a few of the transaction on the platform, and it will over the period of time increase the traction or increase the volume also on the platform. All the major corporates are there on the platform if you see from the overall perspective, while the intention is to have a discussion with them and to activate them on the platform as soon as possible.
Okay. The next question is, how is buyer's liquidity validated by the system, or should it be taken care by the financier?
So what we typically do is that the buyer, we have tied up with one of the rating agency, and we prepare one report, which is not a public domain information, meaning a public domain report. It is a report which is prepared on some 40 odd parameters, which we supply to the financier for their own credit assessment. The financial credit underwriting team will do the liquidity analysis, will do the assessment, and then they will decide whether they want to take exposure or not. Because end of the day, the exposure is taken by the financier. Platform per se do not take any exposure. We are not allowed to take any exposure. We are just an online marketplace where the participant come. The financier will take exposure, but we assess them through providing this report which I mentioned, and along with the financials of the last 3 years in case if it is an unlisted entity. But end of the day, it is a financier who will take underwriting or who will decide whether to give a liquid or limit or not on this particular buyer.
Can we check the credit profile before transacting?
Yeah, so obviously this buyers who are there on the platform, they are normally rated, and this rating is typically we have seen is above investment grade. But there are a few cases where some of the financial have willingly taken an exposure on below investment grade also. But if you see, the rating agency publish this ratings of the corporates on their own portal. And as I mentioned, this report which I was mentioning, this gives a detail of the company, the financials, the ratios attached to that, the competitors, the rating of the last 3 years was also being covered in that particular report, while the real-time rating is what they can see on the respective rating agency platform directly.
Is there a minimum criteria by RBI for companies of a particular size to join TReDS? For example, a company having a turnover of 100 crore, etc., etc.
So as a buyer, there is no restriction per se. We have seen a buyer with a turnover of 15-20 crores also on the platform. While for the seller, there needs to be MSME in nature, and the MSME has to be MSME new definition, which is effective now. But for the buyer, there is no restriction. Indian companies registered in India under Companies Act, they can come on the platform. No restriction on the turnover or the rating as such. But when the invoices of the sellers get discounted, it is a financier who takes a call, as the previous question was raised. Who will assist the buyer or the liquidity? It is the financier who will take a call, and accordingly, the invoices can be discounted on the platform.
Though the MSME department notification dated 2nd November 2018 mandated all the companies having turnover of more than 500 crore to get registered on TReDS platform, most of the companies have not yet registered on the platform. Are there any consequences to such companies?
So if you see the circular or the notification, it does not speak anything on the consequences. While what we understand from the ROCs or from this notification is that there has been continuous follow-up done by the ROC or the respective department with the companies who are not registered on the platform. And we are seeing the traction also where more and more companies are inquiring and getting registered on the platform. What we are also trying to do with this particular bodies of MSME ministry or other ministry is that how can we push or how can we convince this larger corporate to get onboarded as well as activate and start doing a transaction on the platform, because end of the day, transaction is very important. If they start doing a transaction, then only eventually the MSME will get benefit. But to cut it short, yes, the respective ROCs are following up with the buyers. However, there is no consequences or there is no penalty as such, which is specifically mentioned in that notification, if you see from a notification point of view.
I think you have answered, but just a little bit twist. So that's why I'm asking this question. Can we check buyer's transaction credit history through account aggregators platform?
No, on account aggregator, as of now, this information does not flow. While we are working with some of the account aggregator and more keen to to use the account aggregator more for the benefit of the financial as well as to passing of the information. But as of now, there is no information which flows to the account aggregator which is accessible to the financial or to other bodies. But just to support on that particular question, the information related to the buyer or sellers, these are made available to the financial whenever on a demand basis for their own evaluation or the assessment purpose.
How does the interest calculation realization work? Is it rear ending or front ended?
So when the seller bears the cost, it is always a upfront cost, interest cost realization, where the interest is recovered upfront, which means that interest, the amount which is debited to the financial account is net of interest. When it is a buyer bearing a cost, where buyer bears the cost, the interest can be upfront or rear end. While for 99.9% cases, we have seen the financial opting for upfront interest only. They do not offer the rear end. What I'm trying to say is that this is a financial right to decide whether they want upfront interest or rear end interest when it is a buyer bearing cost. But as I mentioned, 99.9% it is upfront cases only.
Okay. By this amendment, NBFCs are entitled to carry out the business of factoring without requirement of fulfilling the criteria of business principality test. Whether NBFCs will be required to obtain any registration to start this activity, or it can be started without requirement of registration.
So if you see the Factoring Regulation Act, it clearly says that RBI will come out with the guidelines with respect to the registration also. So we all are waiting for that guidelines specifically, which will clearly spell out what are the criteria, how the registration of this NBFC will happen. And hopefully very soon this guidelines will be in place, post which there will be a clarity of how the registration will happen and how the transaction will happen on the TReDS platform with respect to the NBFCs and the CERSAI registration. So we have to wait for the RBI guidelines or notification on that.
Do we need to sign separate agreement with buyer?
As I mentioned, there is no direct agreement between the participant. There cannot be a buyer with the financial agreement. There is a single agreement between the platform with the buyer, which has all the covenants, reps, warranties, and protection available to the financial, including the protection which I mentioned under the Payment and Settlement Act, as well as the Factoring Act. So this all legal protection is embedded within the agreement which we execute with the buyer. And this agreement which we execute with the buyer as well as with the seller, these are available to the financial when they take an exposure on any corporate. So on any buyer, if they are taking exposure, this agreement is readily available along with the KYC document which we have obtained from the participant.
Financials are taken as operational creditor. Isn't that a deterrent for them?
So this is a very good question, and say operational creditor is more when you go from a legal route of a Factoring Act. Correct. And when under the factoring, what you are doing, you are purchasing the receivable of the MSMEs. When you are purchasing a receivable or MSME, you are going to the shoes of the MSMEs, and hence it becomes an operational creditor. Whether it is a detriment or not, it's something which gets proved once you go for a legal recovery. And there are cases in the past where even as an operational creditor also, many banks were able to recover funds. So there are some use cases and some cases around this also under the IBC or NCLT, but you cannot say as it is a detriment, and hence there are two protection available, not only under the Factoring Act, but also under the Payment and Settlement Act. Under Section 25, this protection is available to the financial, where he can go onto the DRT and file his claim or go legal against the buyer.
Amendment has given powers to RBI to make the regulations governing registration, CERSAI charge registrations, etc. Further, such regulations will be required to be placed before Parliament as well. Please throw some light on this. How much time is expected?
No, I think so. Parliament has cleared. This has been cleared by both the houses as well as by the president also. So it's with RBI who will come with the guidelines of how the registration will happen, as I mentioned, and along with that, the process for the CERSAI registration, specifically when we are talking about the direct registration from the TReDS platform. So it's been cleared by both the house. The law is there, but the guidelines from RBI is required for NBFCs to register on the TReDS platform and act as a factors also.
What is the average interest cost for an MSME?
Say average, if you see on the TREDS platform at this point of time, the cost is hovering between 7 to 10%, while we have seen the cost also a lower cost less than 7% also, but the average cost is between in this range. What we see is that when the NBFC comes into the picture, there are more buyers who will be coming on the platform, and especially those regional buyers also, because what we feel is that NBFCs has a better understanding of the regional buyers also, and hence when I speak to some of the NBFC, they see opportunity of taking exposure on the regional buyer, and this buyers might be procuring from the MSMEs, and that will increase the volume on the TREDS platform also. But the average cost, as I mentioned, between 7 to 10% is what it goes. And as been mentioned in the TREDS presentation also, say this rate is being derived basis the buyer credibility, obviously. So the better the buyer credential, the credibility, the rating, the finer will be the rate on the platform. And this is purely a bidding mechanism, so there is no fixed rate as such to any party as such. So today, if it is moving at 5%, tomorrow it can move at 7% also, and vice versa. If it is at 7%, it can move to 4-5% also. It's very dynamic in nature, and it's based on the financial call as well as the supply and demand of the liquidity on the platform.
As per the latest amendment, can an NBFC engage in the factoring activity outside of TREDS platform through other digital platform, or is it mandatory to have a factoring license?
So if you see this guidelines, or if you see that change in the definition, it does not say and restrict only for the TREDS transaction. So NBFC will also be allowed to do factoring outside the TREDS also, but there you have to wait for RBI guidelines. Yes.
At present, lenders can charge penalty for default period from the buyer as per their respective guidelines. Can it be made uniform across all the lender institutions?
So if you see currently also, almost all the financials are charging a standard default or a penal interest of 2%. So what typically happen in case if there is a delay or default on the due date, and if it is not paid on the same day, typical financial what we see is that charge 2% penal interest, and the principal along with the penal interest is recovered. So it's more standard now also, if you see.
No, somebody has pointed out that the interest cost varies between 4 to 10% based on the buyer's financial health. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, so that was on the interest cost. So what I'm trying to say is the interest or the bidding cost is very dynamic in nature. The question was more from a penal interest or the default. In case if there is a default, what is the penal interest which is being charged? So that is more standard now, which is 2%, while the bidding cost will be dynamic and it cannot be with any fixed value, correct? And that's what have been answered on the chat session also. It varies between this range.
What's the GNPA and NNPA at platform level, and what kind of support NBFCs get from platform when there's a default?
So that's what I mentioned also. In case there is a default, the first thing which we do on the platform is first we understand from the buyer whether they will be making a payment on the due date. In case if it continues for more than 5 days, we do not allow that particular buyer to transact further on the platform. And wherever the NBFCs or any financial want to take a legal recourse, we provide all the digital record which is there with us, including the master agreement, the KYC, NACH mandate being submitted and registered with NPCI, as well as the response which we have received from NPCI for a failure of the NACH mandate. As a platform, we can just provide the documents or the digital record. We cannot become a party for any transact or any legal proceeding between the buyer and the financier. So a financier has all the rights. They will go legal against the buyer, and the records or the documents which are into the custody of the TREDS, we will be able to provide that particular document.
Whether the transaction of factoring will be mandatory to be submitted with CERSAI, will there be any limit of any amount of the transaction like rupees 20 lakhs or similar?
So as per the current definition and current guidelines, registration of the receivable has to be there on the CERSAI portal. So it is a mandatory requirement. But whether the financiers are required to do, it's up to the financier. So the financiers take an information from the TREDS platform, and this information is available readily in the format in which they can upload it on the CERSAI portal. But end of the day, this is the obligation on the financial to upload or to create a charge on the CERSAI portal. It's mandatory as per the Factoring Act, because when you go legal against them under the IBC or NCLT, because you have a notice of assignment, there has to be a charge also which needs to be created.
Is there any provision for buyer as they registered for reverse factoring only?
No, a buyer, when they register on the platform, they do not register for a factoring or reverse factoring. We have cases where they have registered for the reverse factoring to avail first reverse factoring, and they have used factoring also. So they do not register for any particular product. They register as a buyer on the platform, and over the period of time, MSMEs, their suppliers keep on adding, and based on the understanding between the MSME sellers and the buyer, the product which they offer, which they want to avail, they avail accordingly on the platform. So it's not specific to a factoring or reverse factoring.
All the three platforms would have largely targeted investment grade or higher grade buyers as financiers till date were largely banks. How significant an opportunity would be available to NBFCs immediately, especially given the current abundant liquidity come low rate scenario?
So we see a very good opportunity, and opportunity with respect to a size will be difficult to evaluate now, because what we are trying to do is that this 600, 700 buyers which are there and around 200 buyers are active. We are trying to work with other buyers also to make them active, and to see the potential which they carry for the NBFCs. While NBFCs might not be able to compete at a very aggressive rate, which the banks are doing, and as the person have correctly mentioned, there is abundant liquidity. But while we see the opportunity more in the A- to a BBB rated category, where there are more liquidity required on the platform, and this can be filled by the NBFC. So we see a good opportunity in the coming month or coming year, where NBFC will play a key role to fix the gap between that liquidity and demand mismatch. And the opportunity is immense, if I can say in a very clear sense.
Is there a cap with respect to single invoice can be factored on TREDS, example 1 crore or higher or less?
There is no cap on the platform, TREDS platform. This we have discounted invoice of 5 rupees also, and a maximum invoice which we have financed on the platform is around 8.5 crores. So no restriction on the amount of the invoice. However, this invoice should be uploaded on the platform within 45 days from the goods and service acceptance date, because within 45 days, MSME should receive the funds, and hence that is a condition which is imposed on the TREDS platform also.
Is there any buyer level exposure capping being maintained by TREDS?
We do not maintain any buyer level exposure, because end of the day we are not taking exposure on any buyer or any participant. But what we do is, when a financier is trying to take exposure, he can see saying that what kind of exposure which is there on that particular buyer across, meaning on the TREDS platform, on the limit level as well as on the outstanding level. So basis that, a financier will decide whether they want to increase the exposure on that particular buyer or not. But as a platform, we do not have any role in capping that exposure.
Whether the transaction will have the full details of underlying transaction, like transaction is coming under which industry or sector, supply to EOU, STP, SEZ, etc.
When the transaction is put up on the platform for the bidding, the financier sees the entire detail of the buyer and seller, the GSTN, the industry to which they belong to, and they also see the entire invoice details, which include the invoice date, invoice number, the goods and service descriptions. And wherever the integration is there, the invoice copy might not be available on the platform. But whenever they do a manual upload, the invoice copy will also be available on the platform, which can be downloaded by the financier in case they want to download and view and review it before bidding. So all this information is available and in a more transparent manner, because it is not only disclosed only to the financier who wins the bid. It is to all the financiers who have taken exposure on that particular buyer. It is visible to them so that they can see, understand, and then place their bid on the platform.
What is the minimum ticket size expected in factoring transaction?
There is no minimum ticket size as such. As I mentioned, the invoice value can be any amount. There is no restriction on the lower amount or higher amount. But what we typically see is that the factoring unit value is between 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs as an average. But it can go to any level. There is no restriction because this can be settled through NACH mechanism itself. The current mechanism allows multiple of 1 crore as a settlement transaction. So in case if the transaction is for the 5 crores, then it gets divided into the 5 Ps and then settled to the sellers of the recovered from the buyer in the same amount. But there is no restriction on the invoice amount or the factoring unit value amount.
The delayed payment interest by the buyer will attract GST. If so, what is the percentage?
Sorry, I'm not able to answer this question as of now. Might be I'll come back to you on this. If that person can give an email ID and contact number, I can reach out to them separately.
Mr. Narendra M, could you just put your email ID and or your contact details so that it can be passed on?
Yeah, sure.
So the next question, as a platform, we can't discriminate between buyers and any company who wish to register on our platform. Can register on our platform. NBFCs would be beneficial as we have good pool of buyers registered where the NBFCs can take a call on.
No, sorry, if you can just repeat.
Yeah, exactly. Even I haven't followed it. I'm sorry, I'll take the next question. 45 days MSME, if the payment needs to be done, that means the time for the financer to buy or not is very less.
So it's not like that because this 45 days is just coming from the MSMED Act. While on the platform, a buyer and sellers might agree saying that, especially at the buyer, when he wants to match to his working capital cycle. So if his working capital cycle is 120 days or 90 days, and he is supposed to make a payment to MSME within 45 days, what he will do, he will say that I want a transaction on the platform for 90 days. For first 45 days, a seller can bear the cost, while for the next 45 days, I will bear the cost. And typically, we have seen in such cases where the buyer matches the cycle, the average credit period also on the platform is around 60 to 70 days. While for the PSU specifically, we have seen a lesser number of tenure as being highlighted here also, which is around 10 to 15 days. But for the non-PSUs, it basically to match the working capital cycle, they will elongate a credit period and match to his working capital cycle. And hence the average credit period on the platform is around 60 to 70 days and not a lower tenure as being highlighted by the person who has asked.
Is on RXIL platform list of buyers registered available?
So it's available to all the registered financier only. So when the NBFCs will come and register, they will be able to see all the buyers who are there on the platform, and any help required for taking a call on that particular buyer. As I mentioned, the CRISIL report or the financials can be made readily available to that financial, so that they can put up to that risk assessment or underwriting team and get the limits on that particular buyer.
Taking up the last question, whether consent of the buyer will be required to be obtained by MSME vendor before initiating process of assignment?
So see, there are two things here. One, the assignment which is being done is being done first when he onboard as a seller on the platform. He gives a general power of attorney or power to do an assignment. Second, when the buyer is doing an acceptance on the platform, he is accepting the factoring unit for two things. One, as I mentioned, is to honor the payment on the due date. The second is he is saying that there is no setup allowed. So that's why a seller's assignment right is being given and a buyer confirmation is taken on the same consent.
Can I take up two more questions?
Yeah, sure. If the time permits, I'm okay.
Yeah. Can registered parties see buyers, vendors?
No, buyer or a vendor cannot see the parties. That's meaning if the vendor is coming on the platform, then the buyer seller mapping, that's why a buyer has to initiate this mapping from the platform itself, and then it goes to the seller for the acceptance. So that's why this buyer seller mapping is mandatory before they do a transaction. If you keep it open, then any buyer can be used to any seller. The buyer seller mapping give a consent to each other to share their information and to agree on the terms and conditions.
NBFCs get all the previous repayment track record of buyers available in the platform?
Yes, definitely. So we'll be more happy to share that information to all the registered financials. So whenever the new financial also get onboarded, we pass on this information, because that's the information which is helpful for the underwriter to take a call, as well as it brings more confidence to the financial also on the overall volumes, the defaults, or the delay which has been undertaken on the platform. So we will share those information also once the NBFCs are registered on the platform.
And I am reading out one of the messages typed in by the Vice President of IMC, Mr. Anand Singhania. He has said it's an excellent program and very informative presentation by the speaker. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I did not read out the names and all, just in to save time so that we could handle the maximum questions.
Yeah, I got it. So
also, one more thing, many have asked for the recording of this. Can we share it?
Yeah, definitely you can share it, and my sincere request is to share my mobile number and email ID, so that in case if any NBFC wants to reach out to me, he can reach out to me directly, because that's the intention, I think. So where we want to cascade this information, to pass on this information, and more NBFCs come on the TReDS platform and eventually benefit the MSME. So more happy to take queries or calls on email or on phone.
So we would like to post it on our YouTube channel of IMC then.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And after such a very informative and fantastic session, may I request Mr. Mahesh Thakkar, Co-Chairman, NBFC Committee, IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Director General, Finance Industry Development Council, to present the vote of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Thakkar. Just a minute.
Thank you, Selvi. It's a lovely presentation, Roshan. You have done it, and in fact, I have received a lot of compliments also on my mobile already. Apart from the chat box which Selvi talked about, your presentation was very well made out in the circumstances. You know, NBFC members from FIDC and IMC both will benefit. Apart from that, IMC has got a lot of MSME members under MSME committee, manufacturing committee, and forum of affiliated associations. All would love it, and more of them, you know, in fact, more than 3,000 members are there. More of such people, when they come to know that they're missed out, because we had only 140 people today, many of them would now come to know that this was more useful. Perhaps we might have to repeat this session. Maybe when RBI guidelines come, we will definitely repeat it, but maybe before that also, we will surely come back. Thanks to the whole, team of RXIL, Roshan Singh, Neha, Ketan, and all other people who have put in a lot of efforts. And thanks for allowing IMC and FIDC to share it on YouTube and our social media and websites. Thank you very much. Friends, must thank IMC team, led by all the President, Vice President, Director General, Sanjay Mehta, Bharti, and IT team, particularly Selvi, Narendra, and all the people were put in place. And we had more than 140 people itself, shows in a short time that the issue is very important. Many people would be interested and benefited because of the Factoring Act which is coming in. We expect RBI to come out. Roshan, do you expect within 1 month we should get the guideline, or we are following it with RBI? Of course, we have written a letter to RBI. I'll send a copy to you, and maybe we expect within 15 days or so.
Hopefully, sir.
Hopefully, and once it comes, we hope that everything is in order and the people start working at it. Thanks all of the participants for joining us, and wish you all the best, and have a great, safe week and the year ahead. Thank you very much. Thanks to all.
Thank you.
Thank you to my co-chairman KV Srinivasan also for beginning this session, given the introductory remarks. Thank you. And keep in touch with IMC and FIDC for any work which you need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mahesh Bhai and Mr.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Anand.
Wonderful event. Thank you.
Roshan, Anand Singhania is the Vice President of IMC, and he had suggested that IMC should do it together. So we thank him also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to host more such session in future also, to benefit to the larger audience, not only to the NBFC but to the MSMEs also. And more happy to collaborate and do such session in the coming months.
Roshan, if you take our direct and indirect members through affiliated associations, we have more than 2 lakh members. Okay, it's actually
definitely, definitely, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.